Welcome to episode 54 of FoundersGyan. Today we have another great guest on the show. He is Mr. Lavesh Pritmani, founder of the LearnBhangra app, which has over 25,000 downloads and has some viral videos as well, which got shared in the millions. We talk all about how Lavesh started this, how he managed to get so many downloads, productivity tips that he uses, and so on. I'm also excited about this episode because Lavesh gives us a deep dive into sales for startups. So that's a segment you don't want to miss. Do check out foundersgyan.com/EP54 for the show notes. And also hang around till the end as we discuss some more IP related questions in our special segment, Ask Marcus. Let's get this party on the road now. Today's guest on the show is Lavesh Pritmani. Lavesh is the founder and CEO of LearnBhangra, and he launched this LearnBhangra app, which is free to download for iOS and Android. And in just about 1.5 years, the app has over 25,000 downloads and has reached millions more through social media. Their Fetty Wap 679 bhangra video also went viral. Lavesh is a very busy person and does workshops and choreography around the world and keeps traveling a lot. So Lavesh, thanks a lot so much, mate, for taking time out of your schedule to speak to me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ramji, for having me on here, and excited to speak with you.
Cool. So let's dive quickly into your app. So tell us more about your app, and before you get into your app, tell us a bit more about your background.
Sure, absolutely. So originally I grew up in North Carolina in the United States, and so I'm an NRI, and like many young Desi boys, I didn't have an appetite to learn dance. I really didn't care about performing dance or anything to do with dance. So it was kind of funny that later in my life it became such a big part of what I did. But I grew up being into sports, primarily basketball. But when I got to high school, I realized that I really had this passion for bhangra. I liked that it was such a manly dance, and I really liked the fact that it allowed me to connect back to my culture and my community, right? So it gave me a reason to be in Desi functions and to connect with friends and spend time with them by practicing and performing on stage. So in 2006, I had the opportunity to actually start teaching bhangra. At that time, it was before YouTube. We were learning from videos and DVDs and that type of thing. So that was my original teacher, and had the opportunity to kind of co-own an academy where I put in the time, and over 10 years, that academy was really where I made my mark and helped spread bhangra within the community. However, I was lucky that within that 10 years, I was able to meet my coach. He actually moved from Punjab to North Carolina, and by chance I met him. And he was really a bhangra expert. And so when I met him and learned the folk style, the quote-unquote original style of bhangra, it completely changed my outlook. It was more of a way of life, the way he treated it, and the discipline and the confidence that he got from performing bhangra. That's what really inspired me to actually launch the app, because I wanted to spread what I learned from him, his teachings, his style, to everybody. And I knew while an academy was great, it was location-based, and it was limited by having to be in one location. So that's where the idea struck me to create an app where anybody, anywhere in the world could enjoy and experience the same thing that I had from my coach.
Okay, great. Lavesh, I just want to take a step back and talk about the fact that you are not even interested in the dance form, but you ended up teaching. So how did that jump happen? Life is strange sometimes, but maybe you could explain to us how that happened.
Yeah, I think I realized when I wasn't going to make it in the National Basketball Association that I needed to find a new hobby. So maybe being a professional athlete wasn't for me. But I've always been the type of person that I want to find something and succeed at it. And it's funny because when I was a child, I was always told, "Hey, you're a good dancer. You should get up on there." But I always ignored that side of it. And then it was kind of funny that in high school, that cultural side of me really took over. I had that yearning to connect more with Desis, growing up outside of India. And all of a sudden, bhangra became that outlet for me, right? That became the method, the medium to connect with my community. And furthermore, it also has a big competitive aspect, which, kind of being an athlete, you want to have that as well, too. And that's something you strive to do. So Bhangra really became that new thing for me, and has continued to be till this day, something that I dedicate a lot of time into.
Okay, excellent. Now, tell us about a bit more about your app, and how did you manage to get so many downloads? I mean, we all know that an app is you might have the greatest app in the world, but if nobody downloads it, it's useless, right? So, how did you
Absolutely.
manage to get so much downloads? What was your strategy behind that?
Yeah, one of the things that we initially started with is when we came up with this idea, we wanted to establish a level of credibility with any potential user. And the way we did that level of credibility was through very high quality video tutorials. So we invested a lot of time and money into bringing out the utmost best production crew. We had members from LA, members from up north, all over come and put this production together. So by establishing that sense of credibility and creating this high quality content, it automatically gave us a little bit of a leg up in terms of what else was out there and what was already available out there. The second thing is having first mover advantage, and the fact that no one had really made an app like this, not to really very many dance forms at all, especially not within Desi dance forms. That was another key thing that helped us get those downloads. But further than that, it was also establishing key partnerships. So we made relationships with YouTubers, with bloggers, with news articles, podcasts, actually, sort of similar to yourself, people who are looking for content. And the reason it's a great win-win is that, these type of people who are in this form of media are always looking for something to talk about, something that's interesting. And the fact that we had something to give them, it gained our exposure, it helped spread our exposure, and at the same time, it gave them something kind of new to talk about. So that's how we initially got the word of mouth out about LearnBhangraApp, and from there, marketing kind of kicked in.
Okay, excellent. So, from what I hear, it seems that much of your downloads were organic rather than paid, and that's always great. And is there any tips that you would give to would be startups on how they can kind of use some of these techniques, these word of mouth techniques? You were talking about blogs, podcasts,
Sure.
and other key partnerships. So, what should we look for if I have an app? Let's say I created an app, and what should I look for? You could just walk
Sure.
us through that.
The first thing that we did is put together, I'd like to say hundreds of spreadsheets that, highlighted the different media outlets. And like I mentioned, that being YouTube, blogs, articles, that would in any way pertain to what we're doing or have an interest in what we're doing. So the market research aspect is really step one. It's getting the analytics, it's getting the people that you're going to want to establish those partnerships, and organizing that and in a very easy way to go after. The second way is through social media itself. So word of mouth and social media are almost synonymous terms nowadays. And so having a very succinct social media strategy, I think, is key to helping spread that word of mouth. The way we've done some of that is, again, being very strategic about how we're posting. So down to the minute, having a weekly spreadsheet where we post all our content that we're going to do ahead of time, utilizing things like Hootsuite, which automate some of the social media for you if you're not there, and being able to schedule ahead of time. There's other tools out there that also do that type of thing. And within social media, treating it like it's almost its own world, looking for the right pages and people who you can also reach out to help spread your word. The third method, besides the media and the social media, is using your personal network. If you do have all these friends and families that members that are supposedly there for you, then you kind of use them to leverage them to help spread your app or whatever idea you have. And utilizing all those in a time strategic approach is what gets the most amount of word out there. And it's very important to have that, I think, in the beginning, to show that you have all these different outlets going, because it creates the perception to users, to people, that you have a lot out there in the market, you have a lot going on. And once you get that right wave going, you hopefully ride that wave and continue to ride it. Ride it all the way through to help kind of continue your marketing as you go along with your project.
Okay, excellent. When you mentioned Hootsuite, I kind of wanted to tell our audience about Buffer, which is also an equally good alternative to Hootsuite. Buffer is paid though. Hootsuite is free, I guess, right?
Yes, I think Hootsuite now may have also a paid aspect of it. Yeah, they do actually, but yes, Hootsuite at the base level is also free.
Right, Buffer is also free at the base level. So these are a couple of tools that can help you automate your tweets and Facebook posts. I think Instagram, LinkedIn. I think you can connect a lot of different social media in this account and automate your postings.
Right.
So that's kind of a good tool to have for social media outreach. Now let's talk about your viral videos. So again, did you use a similar strategy, or was it slightly different on making your video go viral, or was it just luck? A lot of people say
it's funny,
just luck.
It's funny, Ramji, that it really came down to luck. We created so many videos prior to this, and we've created so many videos after this, and some videos have taken hours to create, right, to get the right angles, to get the right view and situation and all that type of thing. The video that went viral was our Fetty Wap. He's a big rap artist in the US, hip hop artist, and there was one very extremely popular song of his called 679. And so we literally were just in the studio, some of the people from my team that I've coached in North Carolina, and it took us 5 minutes to make this video. It was just something kind of goofy. We said, okay, we'll just throw this on the app and it'll be some content filler. It was never supposed to be main content that we thought would go somewhere. And I woke up the next day and I see, thousands of notifications going off on our page about it. So it was really unique that it's very hard to predict what's going to go viral. In fact, we had even tried to force some elements of virality. One of the key ways we had originally started that was through Reddit before we even made this Fetty Wap video. There were other videos that we tried to post on Reddit and get people to upvote them. That's kind of known, if you don't know about Reddit, people call it the birthplace of virality. That's where a lot of it starts and helps spread. So we tried that platform. Obviously, we tried to time the sharing. So we got our friends and families when we'd post a video to say, hey, can you all share this at once and see how that went? But at the end of the day, it's just what, picks up with the people. And I think what helped us was the fact that we were using a trending song, a song that was very popular. Everybody knew that song. And we did something that no one had ever seen, or many people hadn't at least seen. The demographics of that virality video were all over the world. So many people had never seen Bhangra to begin with or even heard about it. And I think the fact that we were able to just take a very popular song and do something that they hadn't seen to it is what led to the virality.
Great. And I think I would also say authenticity is a factor there. I mean, you guys just put it together, right? I mean, on the spur of the moment, you wanted to do something. It was there was no end. I mean, the goal wasn't for the video to go viral. The goal was just to make something. Make something that was funny and spontaneous. So I think being authentic is the case with many viral videos, and I think it's the same with yours one too. So how can our listeners check this out? Do they just search for Fetty Wap 679 Bhangra, or is there a specific?
Yes. Yep. So it's available on YouTube, and where it really went viral is actually on Facebook. That's where it garnered over 13 million views. The YouTube has a sizable amount, but not nearly as much as on Facebook. So you can find it all over kind of the social media platforms. And what was interesting too, I'll mention about going viral is we didn't predict it, but I felt we did a good job of following up on it, and that's something that is also key when you have something. If you're lucky enough to have it go viral, is to not just say I have to make the next big viral video. It's looking within that video and seeing what came out of it through the comments. We went through every comment. We went through every share. That's over 12,000 shares by itself. The comments were, I believe it was somewhere like 8,000 comments. And we went through almost every one of them and either responded or, found that there were gig opportunities. People said, hey, we'd like you to do this for us, or we'd like a workshop here. And so taking the time to really deep dive into it gave us a great idea of not only the metrics, but where opportunities lied. It got us, over $1,000 in gigs just from that video alone. And it also really helped us understand, kind of what a part of our target market that we hadn't maybe focused on as much really wanted and looked for. And so it helped shape some of our future content accordingly. So I think it's good to always look at the other side and really dive into what the reactions to that viral content is.
I think that's a key thing. I mean, some people just want to do another viral video, but I think what you guys have done is taken a good approach and kind of try to utilize the virality and try to maximize the return on the virality. So I think that's great. Now let's talk about monetization. You just touched a bit on that you got over $1,000 of worth of gigs and things like that. So what's the main monetization plan? I mean, is it through the app, in-app purchases, or in-app ads, or do you use the app to kind of get some kind of gigs? I know you travel around the world, so talk to us a bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah. Great question. So in our app, we kind of have a unique setup. When we originally launched the app, LearnBhangra is free. Anybody who wants to learn the dance can learn it for free, watch the videos for free, etc. But within the app, we actually created an in-app purchase. And that's what we call the Bhangra workout. So the Bhangra workout is actually our fitness side. And what we basically have allowed is for people that want to watch the videos and learn Bhangra by themselves, they can do so. But if they want to challenge themselves, if they want to try the 30-day workout, that's what the Bhangra workout offers them. And they have to pay for these additional videos that allows them to put together this 30-day plan on their own. So within the app, we have this in-app purchase model. And I think it's a great way to go. The other route that, if you're a startup kind of looking, I very highly suggest putting parts of your key content out there for free, whether it's an app or whether it's a website, whatever you may do, but then having either an in-app or an in-website purchase model or a subscription model. Subscription is another great way to go. The problem is you just have to always kind of, keep producing content or product or whatever your project may be. So that was our monetization strategy, to have this in-app model, a purchase model. But what happened is the app really became the catalyst, the marketing tool to give us lots of gigs that weren't really necessarily related directly to the technology platform itself. Hence what you mentioned, workshops around the world, merchandise sale, all these different types of things have come out of it. So one of the things to be, a startup, and I think this is, kind of important to look at in your own project, is see what those different revenue channels are, because you might find that you originally launched your product like we did with LearnBhangraApp, but there's other things you never thought about, like these workshops that are paying for and funding a lot of development that we do in the app, and that may be something that you never realized or never thought deeply about, but found that ends up being, down the road, one of your key revenue models out there as well. So kind of that flexibility is important.
Okay, that's great. So that kind of nicely leads me into our deep dive topic, which is sales for startup. And I think you just mentioned the question I had in mind was, what are the various sales channels? I think you just touched on it. Now let's talk about price points. So how did you come up with the price points? So for example, could you just tell us what the in-app purchase price points are? How did you experiment and come up with the current price point, or is it an ongoing experiment? Can you talk to us through the price points of the in-app purchases?
Absolutely, sure. So currently you can buy the entire 6 videos required for the Bhangra workout for $9.99. Individually, the videos, if you buy them, they're different lengths, so they add up to about $14.99. There's $1.99, $2.99, $3.99, $4.99, that type of thing. But holistically, we thought of, okay, there are many other competitive 30-day workouts out there, or time-sensitive workouts out there. What is their price point, and how is their delivery mechanism? Is it DVD? Is it TV? What does that look like? So when we looked at the sample base and we found that, we have quite a few different options out there. Most of them were quite higher than $10. Some of the cheaper ones were around 30, but that was really the lowest. There weren't very many any lower than that. So we kind of took it back and said, well, there's almost none that are in an app today. And the fact is they have the least, the app I feel like has one of the lowest personal touches, right? When you're looking at a DVD, you feel like you have a big screen in front of you. Same thing with the TV. With the app, I think that diminishes that a little bit. So we said, let's take our price point down a little bit. And on the flip side, we have the volume capability that we can make up with having an app versus a DVD or TV or type of thing. So that's how we came up with sort of that $10 price. The other thing we had to factor in is the mindset of people when they're actually looking to download and purchase within an app. There's studies out there that will show you for an app that's free versus an app that is 99 cents, the number of downloads can be reduced by a factor of 10 if you just have a paid app out there, right? So if people are so adverse to paying for something, we couldn't have it at too high of a price point because, again, they're not used to even paying in the first place. There's so many free apps out there. And so even though ours was in-app and we kind of drew them in to see the free content and then gave them the option to look at the paid side, we didn't want to set the bar too high because we felt that would scare people away. So those were kind of the two factors, what competitive analysis and what we saw in the app market to kind of keep that $9.99 price point.
Okay, and can you talk to us about sales or revenue figures? How has it progressed? How is it looking? Just purely from you could talk purely from an app point of view, or you could talk about total merchandise and other channels also.
Absolutely. So, I think looking at it holistically, I think the first step in really a sales process for a startup is the marketing analytics and research side that I touched on a little bit before. Determine your target market. That's not always easy to do, either maybe due to limited funds and not being able to pay for some of the research, or depending on the nature of their startup, there may not really be research that exists out there, depending on what your product is. But it's good to have that first. You look at what your various target markets are. And the second approach is, this may be a little opposite of what you hear in your sales, lessons 101, but I actually go with quantity over quality. And the reason, and what I mean by that, is reaching out to as many possible targets as you can, rather than just necessarily even looking at one or two target markets. I try to have multiple. It takes a lot more time, but having various target markets and reaching out to all of them means that you leave no stone uncovered, and many times you'll find that after doing those hundreds and thousands of messages and emails, you found an opportunity that you would have never known about. And that's sort of what happened with LearnBhangraApp with the workshop side, which we mentioned a little bit before. So I think it's very key that whenever you're wanting to either get somebody to try your workout, whether you reach out, in this case, if we were trying to sell the Bhangra workout to people who are into fitness. Maybe we reach out to a gym and we say, okay, Jim, here's a new workout style. Why don't you try doing this? Use technology, play the videos on a big screen instead of even having an instructor in there. Well, how we communicate that's one idea of how we can kind of sell our product and get those purchases. The way we communicate that, it's very important to have a very succinct message, right? We're dealing with people all over the world, people we're never going to meet. And it'd be great to do that, but unfortunately we're never going to meet every one of our users. So having a great subject line in your message or email is probably one of the most important things you can look at when kind of crafting your sales strategy. One that I've used in my career has been meeting with you next week. That's it. That was my subject line, and that's gotten me so many meetings and so many sales there and after just by using that type of line. Remember, people are never looking at the full body content. They look at something very quickly and move forward for there. So I think that's when you're putting together that sales strategy, it's important to have those target markets. It's important to know what your message to them is going to be in whatever you're trying to sell, and making it as succinct as possible. You explain quickly what you are, in 1 to 2 lines. You go straight to, what kind of makes you what you are. And then number 3 is the ask. What are you asking of them? So most of my emails are no more than 3 to 4 lines when I'm sending these prospecting emails out to these different organizations when we're trying to spread either the fitness side or get a workshop, get merchandise sales, get partnerships with YouTubers. It's all the same methodology that you sort of apply when going through your sales process.
Okay, excellent. And is there any revenue figures that you can share with us?
Sure. So, we originally started with only getting a few purchases, or I should say a purchase every few days. So it originally started with making $10, once every couple of days.
Beer money, right? Not even beer money, coffee money, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I got to the point where it paid for my electric bill, and I was happy about that. But there and after, once we started kind of growing and once we went viral, we capitalized on that because we used the virality to launch our fitness social media. So we launched a separate page for the bhangra workout and created a separate small team off of that. And that's when we saw things really go up big time. So that's when we saw up to a few purchases a day, right? So now we're not just bringing in, maybe if we're lucky, $100 a month. Now we're bringing hundreds over a month, sometimes up to 1,000. So that's where we really saw the trajectory go up after that virality. And outside of just the app purchases, the workshops are great because then they're in person. You can kind of charge by the hour. Merchandise is great because you can sell that on site at the workshops. And of course, there's good profit margin if you're buying things in bulk, right? Which we try to do. And then what other gig opportunities you get? It's a service industry we start to become. And, the margins on the service side are always going to be a lot higher than a physical product. So we use that labor mentality of now we're providing that service, and that's how we're able to make quite a bit more. So, originally the app was cost us, in the range of about 35 to 40,000. By the end of this year, after about just 2 years of existence, we're going to hope to be breaking even, if not just early 2017. So that gives you an idea of kind of where the revenue comes in at.
Wow, that's excellent. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, if you like the show, do follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The link is www.facebook.com/FoundersGyan and twitter.com/FoundersGyan. Both these provide you daily tips and articles as well as resources to help and inspire your startup. There are multiple tips per day. Some examples of these tips would be articles on the latest startups, growth hacking tips, how do you build team for startups, how to get funding, etc. So don't forget facebook.com/FoundersGyan and twitter.com/FoundersGyan. With regards to merchandise and other sales opportunities, can you talk to us about how you diversified into these other sales opportunities? Because obviously, if you put all your eggs in one basket, and that is the in-app purchase, you're never going to make it up to scale unless you create Flappy Bird or something. I'm not sure. So,
right.
So how did you kind of diversify into all these things? And a part of that question is you also mentioned about a team. So how many people are in the team, and did putting the team together help you into diversifying into all these opportunities?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, diversifying and growing the team went hand in hand with diversifying and growing our revenue streams as well. And so we originally started with myself and my co-founder. His name is Sandeep. He's a software developer and helped kind of manage the entire development process. We outsourced development, but he was, being in his trade, he knew what to do. So originally, as we started with that team, a few people said, well, we really like what you're doing. We like the quality of the videos. It created that credibility. So they said, well, we have some marketing experience here. We'd like to kind of join in and help out, because they saw the future, potential and revenue and that type of thing. So we started with just us two, and it's grown to about 12 people today. Now, the core team that really works on the app side is only 4 people, but the additional 8 are our brand ambassadors. So we've been able to use local marketing, grassroots marketing, by establishing a brand ambassador program. Those people are the face of our app and the face of our product in their local regions. And so having these different people, different mindsets, our brand ambassadors are actually from all over the world. We have Singapore, Argentina, Mexico, United States, Punjab, and we're continuing to grow on that. But getting their different perspectives and different ideas is actually how we thought of many of these revenue streams. One person who's, in the college market, she said, well, people in college seem to love, in the universities, love these free giveaways. We really should be putting more time into merchandise. And that's how that idea came up. So, after kind of growing this team and getting more and more people to look at our project, we took all the different revenue ideas out there and basically put a timeline on them. I think it was very key to put that timeline strategy, because as you grow, you want to make sure your revenue and their different sales channels, your revenue channels, grow accordingly and organically through that timeline that you establish. So we knew down the road, yes, we want to create merchandise, but it wasn't something that we did necessarily in the first month. We focused on, just growing the app, Bhangra Workout, the in-app purchase model of it first. So that's sort of, as our team grew, the more and more ideas came in, we incorporated them into a timeline and then explored more and more revenue options. Till this day, we continue to do that and see where else we can sort of grow.
Okay, excellent. Now, I think this was probably going to be the final question on the sales side of things. But after hearing all this, I might say, oh, Lavesh, it's all fine and good for you. You're from a sales background, but I know nothing about selling. So how do I sell? So if somebody comes to you and tells you that, and he's a startup founder, what advice would you give for a person with no sales background?
Absolutely. So sales, there is not one type of salesperson. There's not just one type of salesperson in the world, right? In my career, I've met so many different types of salespeople, and I can be completely different from the person next to me, but equally as successful. I think the key that I would find that's amongst all salespeople and anybody that succeeds at it is persistence. It's having a great system for following up and continuing to follow up and continuing to be persistent about whatever the opportunity is. So what I would suggest to somebody is, sure, you can establish these markets. It doesn't take a genius to do some basic research and think, okay, here's my product. Here's maybe some of the people that would use it. In fact, how else are you going to come up with a product? You have to have that use case in your mind. So creating and putting some of the research together, and then creating that email, like I mentioned, it's cutting it down as simple as you need it to be. But what's the real way that you're going to get the success? It's going to follow up and follow up and follow up until you get a response. That's the key. So what I do is I pick a date every week or once every 2 weeks, and I just go through any email responses, messages, or calls where I'm waiting on the other person. It ensures, again, that you leave no stone unturned, no opportunity that you've missed out on. And anybody can do that. It's as simple as creating a calendar reminder for yourself. It's as simple as, structuring your emails or messages in a way that you can remember, here's what I need to go back and message. It's that quantity over quality approach. I don't want to go against all the sales logic, and it's not necessarily saying that only quantity is great, but it's having that mindset and that methodology behind you to know that you're going to make sure you don't leave any stone unturned, and having a system for what you're doing for following up. And if you keep at it, I guarantee you will get some results out of it, and that will help kind of keep you through. It takes a lot of time, but it's very important to have that system.
Right. Thanks, Lavesh, for sharing that. I think persistence is key, not just in sales, but any facet of the entrepreneurial journey. So I think what you say is very relevant. And I do have a great tool for follow-up. I don't know if you have heard of this tool. It's called followupthen.com. Have you heard of this tool, followupthen.com?
I haven't heard of that. I might need to check that out, because that might change my life.
Yeah, please do, because it's a very interesting tool, and what it does is you just register on the site. It's free, and once you register on the site, it sends you an email to your Gmail ID or whatever your ID with a whole bunch of addresses on the BCC or on the CC, so that all these addresses get into your address book. So the next time you want to follow up, let's say with a person after 3 days, all you got to do is say type 3D, that is 3 days, at follow up then. So it's all autocomplete. If you're using Gmail or something like that, you just type 3D and it says 3days at followupthen.com, and you just say call Ram.
That's
And
fantastic.
you say send, and 3 days later you get a message saying, hey, you said this follow up. It's like days, hours, months, weeks, you name it. It has all the options. Sometimes you are working on something. I use it very often. I'm working on something. I need to follow up with somebody. I'm just not in the mood, or just don't have the time right now to do it. I can just say change it to 12 hours. 12h at follow up then, and voila. After 12 hours, I get a email back saying, hey, you need to follow up with this person.
That's fantastic. I think that would be a great tool for anybody who's in a startup space to use. That sounds exactly like something that I would use and would make my life easier.
Yeah, check it out and let me know how you find it.
Sure.
Now let's talk about your app quickly. Now you said that you built the app, and if I remember right, you said it cost you 35-40K. Is that right?
Yeah, so that really combines all aspects: the production of the video, the actual development of the app, and really marketing dollars in the first year. So I put the entire kind of info in one bucket there.
Okay, and so you are obviously a sales guy, and Sandeep is your other co-founder, and was he a technical guy? I mean, how did you approach the app development? I can understand the video production and marketing to some extent, because you obviously have some idea on all those things, but how did you approach the app outsourcing? Can you give us some insights into that? And if, let's say, I have a like dance class myself, and I want to create an app. I don't know anything about technology. You just mentioned in your background that you don't know anything about technology, and yet you were able to build this app. So how did you manage the whole outsourcing process?
Yeah, I was very lucky that when partnering with Sandeep that he had the technical background, but not so much from just the development perspective. It was more from the project managing perspective, and so knowing what developers need in terms of creating wireframes and creating a storyboard to help them understand what it would look like for a user. Those are the type of things that were a huge value add, having somebody to partner with who understood the technology side. And again, I don't think you have to have every detail. I don't think you have to. Sandeep didn't know iOS or fully into Android. He was developing on a different platform. But the fact that he knew what developers needed, as he obviously was a software developer himself, those wireframes, that's what really helped make it come to life and become a real project for us. And so if I was to suggest to somebody who has no technical background, I think it's still possible to do it without even having a technical resource. Obviously, it's much easier if you do. But if you don't, I would look up what wireframes are. I think that's a very key thing to draw out what your app or what your project you want it to look like. Using some logic of how one person clicks on one thing to the other. That was something that I did on my own anyways. I pretended like I clicked on every button and thought, where is this button going to take me, and what is it going to look like to the user? And then you realize there's some things you have to take out, or maybe some things you have to rework because that's too much clicking. All that comes into play when you really storyboard yourself, when you really put yourself in the shoes of a user and go through each and every little feature, each and every little button on your project or app or website or whatever it may be. I think it is good to always get a mentor or somebody you can partner with. And today there's, luckily a lot of resources. And I think it's also, if you're looking to save costs, which is what we did, that's what led to our decision to outsource development rather than either trying it ourselves, which was going to take a lot of time, or hiring, let's say, somebody locally to be there and paying them like that. We just outsourced it online, and that's how we were able to get a lot of the initial development work. There and after, we started working with other teams that were recommended to us, but we got some of the basics done just from outsourcing online.
And which website did you use? Elance or what was it
Yes, and I
online?
guess now it's called Upwork, right? But Elance was the original one. Yes.
Okay, okay, great. Now let's talk about your personal life. Now, can you talk a little bit more about your personal life and how you balance time between your work and your personal life? I guess like dancing is something you enjoy, so I wouldn't call it professional life, but yeah, still there is a
No, no,
segregation, right?
you're absolutely right. Some days you're like, I'm tired of doing bhangra, I'm tired of dancing, but it's part of what you do, right? So you definitely, it's still obviously always going to be something I enjoy, but there are certain days when my body just says, oh, I cannot do it today. It's the way you have to do it is the way at least I do it is creating the most specific schedule that you possibly can. I mean, I time out down to 10 minutes of my day, and I really utilize the calendar tool. Like I use Gmail. Google Calendar is what I swear by. When I'm having dinner with a friend, they're going to get a Google Calendar invite from me. That's how I structure everything. And so having that commitment and that conviction to say I'm going to stick to my calendar and I'm going to create something. And once you hit a couple of goals, you start easy with it, right? If it's not something you're ready to do, it's starting small by trying to hit a few goals, putting a few simple things on your calendar and saying, okay, I accomplished this, and then getting more and more intricate with it to the point where now you can manage both your full-time career, if that's what you're still doing, plus your startup. And so, I was kind of fortunate that part of my Lenovo career, I've been, as I mentioned, in sales, and so I've been able to work from home. I work in New York City, and I'm meeting with clients during the day. So I have the ability, flexibility of schedule, and I can work on the app sometimes a little bit during the day. But even if I don't, and even when I didn't, when I first started the app, it was okay. I'm done with work. Let's say 5:36. Now I'm going to dedicate from 6 all the way to 10 at night doing not just the app work, but spreading it out. Here's what I need legally. I need to get these agreements. Here's what I need to get here. Marketing, I have to reach out. So I get to spend some time for marketing outreach. There's some meetings I have to take care of to talk about development, whatever it may be, timing all those out. And I think that if you really use the time management aspect and have a tool that helps you, whatever the tool that is, helps you keep track of it, I think that's how you'll be successful in balancing kind of your personal and non-personal life.
Excellent, excellent advice. And do you have a daily ritual or something? How do you keep yourself fit? I've seen your videos, and obviously, you need to be fit to keep dancing and teaching dancing every day, right? So, is there something you do on a daily basis that helps you stay fit, or mentally, physically? I don't know. Maybe you do meditation. I'm not sure.
No, absolutely, yeah. So I definitely try to go weightlift 4 times a week. So I'm definitely into weightlifting. But outside of that, it's always good to have a mix of different things. So you never get bored. I play sports. I play quite a bit of soccer nowadays. Not as much basketball, but I play a lot of football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. I also I do these workshops, or when I do those once about a month or once every 3 weeks. Those in itself are pretty much a big workout weekend for me when I'm conducting those. I also try to run a couple times a week as well. So incorporating all that into my schedule is just as much considered to me as work, right? As part of my work schedule. It's taking out time, during the day to lift weights or to go for a run or whatever. And once you get the consistency and you start to see just some results, your body doesn't want to break it. Your mind doesn't want to break that. And so I think establishing quick consistency is the key to success, because once you've seen some results from it, you just don't want to go back. And that's what helps keep me in shape.
Awesome, awesome, great advice. Now, what's the best advice that you have heard or read or listened and try to incorporate into your own life or career?
Yeah, for me, Ramji, it's been 100% the persistence. I will be the first to tell you I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the the one that maybe has the best ideas or the most intelligent way to achieve X, Y, and Z. But the time management and the persistence that itself is what any success I've had has been because of that. It's, some people say that's hardworking, but I really just think it comes down to time management and including persistency, an element of that, a system of that into your time management. So for me, that really sparks everything that I do, is having a schedule and being able to stick to that schedule, because that makes me feel like I've accomplished what I want to get done during that day. And when I feel that sense of accomplishment, it kind of builds the positive vibes and helps you do more and more and more. It shows that your hard work is paying off, and from there, it leads to a lot of different things. So the best advice for me has always been to make that schedule that I kind of mentioned before.
Okay, excellent. Now, can you talk to me about your worst moment and worst entrepreneurial moment and the lessons you learned from that experience?
Sure, absolutely. So, within the app itself, we've one of the worst moments I've had and feelings I've had is, obviously, like many others listening, we're a startup with not a whole ton of funds, and so when we did our development and outsourced it, that was obviously to save cost. And sometimes you don't always get the best results by doing it that way. And so one time, when I was with somebody and I was talking excitedly about my app, and I said, "Yeah, check it out right now," and they said, "Oh, we're going to download it," and they downloaded it, and the app crashed on them. That's a terrible feeling, right? Because it's something you've put your whole life into. It's your baby, and then
right, you're so excited to show it to them, right? And it doesn't work.
And then they look at you funny, like, "This is what you've been so excited about. This app doesn't even work." So, that's a disheartening feeling. There's no doubt about it. But at the same token, you kind of have to go back, and sometimes you just really have to close your eyes and look back and say, okay, even if this didn't work, or even if this point in time something is not working, look at how much I've achieved and look at how much I've learned. Because even if my app today didn't work, the knowledge that I've gotten from doing this project is absolutely, there's invaluable. It's priceless. There's no amount of money that this knowledge could buy. And I know that whatever next venture or whatever other idea I came up with, the skills that I've learned in this will pay off, 20 times down the road. So even if one aspect of it didn't work, or, something went wrong, everything building up to it, all that is valuable, just invaluable skills that you're going to be able to use in whatever you choose to pursue, or whatever hopefully does work out for you. So that's sort of how I've been able to keep myself going when I did have some of those roadblocks, or, money was a concern, or time was a concern. It always said, "Hey, look at what I've been able to accomplish. Look at what I've done." And luckily for me, it's still continued to work on for some time.
Awesome. So, in a nutshell, you'd say that even if whatever you're doing is a failure, you haven't really failed. You've just learned from it, right? I mean,
exactly.
That's okay. Great. Now, we just have a couple of final questions. Now, are there any books or resources that you recommend to our startup would be entrepreneurs or startup founders? Do you read? What would you recommend?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not the best at suggesting books, but it's not that I don't read. I just, the internet has become my quote unquote library. So I found a lot of success in checking out things like Angel's List. That's a great resource. It's a list of startups. I believe it's international, but I know it's definitely in the U.S. As well. And kind of seeing what different ideas people have on there. I've also had a lot of success using meetup.com. That was actually one of the initial ways to get this app idea and to understand what it entails to get an app started, because I went to these meetups. There's technology meetups, there's networking meetups, all these different types of meetups in cities all over the world. And so going to that allowed me to meet people who gave me different perspectives there and after, where, I would read more and more about something and then, find out, okay, this is where I want to, dive further into. So I think creating these networking events were probably the most critical thing. The other thing I would say is finding a mentor, finding somebody who has done something similar to you, or or somebody you respect, just, in business in general. Everybody, I'm sure, can think of at least one person out there who they look up to, or respect, and whose ideas and values or ideas and projects they can value. So keeping in touch with that mentor and trying to have, again, a follow-up system to go through your progress is important with that mentor as well too, because it brings another set of eyes onto your project and helps you think more about where you should go and what you should do, and if you're doing something right or wrong. So those have been the best resources: Meetup, having a mentor itself. Other than that, I wouldn't say there's just one particular thing that's really works. It's been a lot of different Googling, a lot of different links, but if it helps you too, as part of kind of, I mentioned before, having a systematic approach, pick one topic you want to research every few days, and a topic that pertains to, of course, your project. So whether it's app sales, like we talked about earlier, whether it's app development, whether it's video production, whether it's video editing, whether it's around the dance itself, just pick something that you're always constantly learning, and that keeps you in the mindset of always being thirsty for knowledge. And I think that is very important as well too, in general.
Great, Lavesh. That's great advice. So thanks a lot for that. Now, before I move on to the final question, how can our listeners get in touch with you? Obviously, I will be linking up the your website, LearnBhangra.com, as well as the Play Store and iOS app links on the show notes. But if they want to reach out to you personally for just talking about mentorship, sales, startups in general, what's the best way to reach out to you? LinkedIn, Twitter, email? What's your poison of choice?
Absolutely, sure. So I'm very active over email. So if they want to message, I have two emails. Our general LearnBhangraApp at gmail.com. So it's LearnBhangra and then app app at gmail.com. Or you can email me at my alias L Pritmani. That's Pritmani. So L Pritmani at LearnBhangraApp.com. Both of those I check pretty frequently, and would be very happy to help in any way I can. We're all learning. No one's perfect, so it's great to talk to others and continue to improve ourselves.
Okay, excellent. And I'm just going to say that Bhangra is spelled with BHANGRA.com for all
Yes.
our non-Indian listeners.
Right.
I should have said that at the start, but anyway, I'll be putting that on the show notes. So thanks, Lavesh, so much for your time. I'm very grateful to you for taking the time out. I know it's very late for you in the day, so it's a great pleasure and privilege to speak to you, and thank you so much for taking the time. And the final question is, this is how I end my podcast. Let's assume that whatever you're talking has not been recorded. Actually, okay, it is recorded. it's just a joke.
No
It
problem.
is recorded, but assume that it's not been recorded, and I'm just pressing the record now. So if there's only one gyan that you could give our would-be founders, what would that be?
Sure. For me, that would be when you're putting your project together and you're looking at what you want to get into. Think to yourself, is this something I am willing to sacrifice, a lot for? And is it something that I'm willing to say, okay, I can hang out with friends, or I could sit there and be on my computer and typing away and researching into this project? I think sacrifice is very, very important. You have to be willing to put in that time, because you can't do everything at once. You can't say, oh, I'm going to sit there and be a social butterfly, and at the same time I'm going to create an app and have it be successful. Some people may be able to, but most people cannot do that type of thing. So look heavily and say, is this something I'm that passionate about that I'm willing to put in whatever it takes for it to be successful in my eyes, and whatever you determine as success. So that would be my gyan to everyone out there. It's something that I've looked at, and even within my LearnBhangra app, there are certain avenues I could have taken, and I didn't take those because I felt that that's not what represented what I started. And what I started the app was for, to spread this style of Bhangra that I really cared about. And so there were opportunities where I had the chance to water it down and maybe make it more commercialized. I didn't do that because that's not where I wanted to put in my time. That's not where I wanted to sacrifice my efforts. So stay true to whatever your passion is, your roots, and make sure that that's something you want to sacrifice some time and effort. And if you do, the results will be there. That's just my 2 cents.
Excellent. Lavesh, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you continued success in your venture.
Thank you so much, Ramji.
Hope to send you a video of me doing the dance. You won't get it very soon though.
Hey, absolutely. That would be a proof that the app works. So I'm gonna hold you to that, Ramji. I appreciate you having me on here. It's been an honor, and it's been great speaking with you.
Thank you. Tushar, thank you so much for coming on the show to answer questions with regards to IP, trademark, and all those jazzy stuff. If any of you listeners out there have a question that you'd like Tushar to answer, please use the hashtag #AskMarcas, that is AskMarcas, on Facebook and Twitter. And we will pick out the most interesting questions and answer them in an upcoming episode of Founders Gyan. So thanks again, Tushar, for agreeing to answer some of our listeners' questions.
My pleasure, Ram.
Also, a quick disclaimer: this advice is general in nature. If you have specific questions with regards to your brand or your trademark, we suggest consulting a lawyer before taking any advice that you hear on this podcast. Would you suggest that a company which is just starting out register their trademark just yet or not? Or if no, what is the best time for going for trademark registration?
In my opinion, I always suggest that get your trademark registered as soon as possible, because it saves the hassle of any future infringement issues. Because once you start using your brand name, it's very difficult to change it again in case you get into certain litigation for infringement. So it's better to check initially in the beginning that whether similar name exists or not, so that it reduces, it makes sense. It saves you from a lot of hassles later on.
Okay, and what is the best time? Like, is it before starting, while starting, after starting?
Yes, before starting. Like I said, before starting. Whenever you're starting up, it's better to get your trademark there and there.
Okay. So basic step is you file it, and then obviously you have to start, right? You can't wait for the trademark to come through, right?
So once you file your application, within 48 to 72 hours, you will get the receipt, the permanent application number. So in a way, you are provisionally registered. So the application can process. The application will be processed there. You can start working on it when you're registering. There is a public search. So there you check whether the similar name exists or not. So there you will know the similar name is not existing. So it is much easier for you to start working on developing that brand there.
Okay, thanks Tushar for your time in answering these questions. For a limited time, Marcas is offering free filing of trademark. You just have to pay the government registration fees. More details can be had on www.marcas.in. Thank you very much, Tushar, once again for your time.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you for having me on your show again.
I hope you enjoyed this show. Do share it with your friends. It's simple. Either send them the website www.foundersgyan.com or go to the show notes page foundersgyan.com/EP54, where there are nifty share icons that you can use. I'll see you all next week with yet another startup and its journey. In the meantime, drop in a comment on the show notes page about what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to hear on the show, and so on. And remember to take action on your own startup today. I hope you got inspired and have a great week ahead.